Hello, everyone. We are on top of the hour, and welcome to today's webcast, World-Class Digital Customer to Cash. We are going to look at a case study from ConvaTec at transforming accounts receivables to adapt for the new normal and the digital world that we live in. Thanks, everyone, for joining today. Before we start and before I hand it over to our guest speakers and to my colleague Brian, I would just like to walk you through the a few rules around using Zoom just to hopefully make your life easier. Can we move to the next slide, please, Brian? Great, thanks. So you might be already familiar with Zoom. However, just a brief guide. On the top right side, you will see that you can adjust your screen viewing. So for the full screen, to make it a little bit easier for you to view the full screen presentation, you can click the top right icon and adjust your view mode from there. We are recording this session and this will be made available along with the presentation after the webcast today so that you have it for reference. All lines are automatically placed on mute to ensure call quality, and I will kindly ask you to use the Q&A feature to enter any questions. It might be a technical question or a question related to the presentation itself. On the lower left side, you will see that you can adjust the audio settings as well. Okay. Thanks, Brian. This is just a prompt. I expect that most of you would have already seen this, but we have launched a few weeks ago the 2021 Credit Collections and Dispute Management Performance Study. So it is quite extensive since it covers all the three areas. So it looks at credit, at collections, and dispute management. And this is open throughout April. So we have it open until the 30th of April. If you don't have the link, I will be sharing the presentation with you later today, so you can have it handy from here and coordinate with your team to complete it. Can we move to the next slide, Brian? Okay, this is a reminder for all of you that we've got the Save the Date events. All of the events are running virtual this year, and we will start with the North America Advisory Summits on the 11th of May, and then we will have the North American Advisory Leadership Forums on May 12th. On May 18th and 19th, we will have C2C along with other programs, and then we will continue with the European Leadership Forums for C2C and the other areas on June 16th. Again, all of this will be virtual. And we will finish at the end of the year with our Global Best Practices Conference, which will be both for the North America audience and for the European colleagues who would like to join. If you don't have the links, please feel free to reach out to myself. I will share my email with you later on, or you can contact your respective account manager later on for further details. Can we move to the next one, Brian? Okay, then in terms of CPE credits, if you would like to qualify for CPE credits, there are a few things that you need to follow. You need to be dialed into the Zoom webcast for a minimum of 50 minutes. We have prepared a couple of polling questions, so please do make sure that you complete all the polling questions throughout the webcast. And at the end of the webcast, when you exit Zoom, there will be a separate window that will pop up with an evaluation form that you will need to complete. So please bear those three things in mind in order to be able to get your CPE credits. In terms of learning objectives for today, the key thing is to look at customer to cash and see growing best practices, grow your knowledge and understanding. Understand how other organizations, in this case, this will be our guest speakers from ConvaTec, along with the help of Imagia, will look at their case and how they have assessed and implemented C2C process automation solutions to adapt to the digital world. And then the final opportunity would be for you to learn from other practitioners and broaden your networking base. Okay. And then we will launch off with the first polling question for today. And I will also hand it over to my colleague, Brian de Croo.
Great, thanks, Rossi. Yeah, so our first polling question, since we're going to be talking about customer to cash technology today in a specific case study from ConvaTec and how they're using Imagia, we wanted to assess and just get an understanding of everyone on the call today. What is your greatest area of concern when you're evaluating new technology for customer to cash? And so there's a couple of choices here: the cost of the solution and time to benefits, the features and functionality of the solution itself, the user interface, how the experience for your team to use the tool, customer experience. So how will the tool actually impact and affect your customers in working with you, and then also global coverage and solution support of the solution. So if we just take a second, Rosie, to open that up and let's see what people's answers are to how they're evaluating this technology.
Sure, I have just launched a poll and I can see that people are already responding.
Good.
Great, we're a little bit more than, 80% in, great. Okay.
All right.
I think we can end the poll now. I can see that everyone has participated.
Okay.
Shall we have a look at the results?
Let's do that.
Okay. Share results. Great. I think we have a leader.
Yeah, a close leader though. Yeah, it's a little close there. The cost of the solution and time to benefits was the most popular, 38%, but very close behind the features and functionality. So at 35. So yeah, that's good to know, and obviously something to think about as we're going through today's session and reflect on how those elements factored into the decisions that ConvaTec made. So great. Okay.
Great.
All right, so let's go on to, let me set up what our plan is for today. So we've got three great speakers that is going to be sharing with us today. So the founder and CEO of Imagia is Veena Gundavelli. Veena is going to start out our session today, and she's going to talk about the Imagia solution. So I know a lot of you on today's call, members of Hackett's Global Advisory Customer to Cash program, we talk a lot about technologies. And of course, Hackett's approach to understanding what's in the marketplace is coming up from a features and functionality perspective. And we look at how the tools really enable world-class performance. So how are the tools really affecting and moving the needle in terms of efficiency and effectiveness? And that's how Hackett measures world-class performance. But really to understand and get really a better understanding of what the tools are, you really have to see it and understand it. So Veena is really going to take some time today and share what the Imagia platform looks like and get into features and functionalities that enable world-class performance. Then she's going to pass it on to Chris Arnold and Srini Dusi from ConvaTec, and they're actually going to bring to light how they actually went through a selection process and how they're leveraging the Imagia solution today to really put them on a path to world-class performance. So I'm really looking forward to the interaction today. Again, as Rosie mentioned earlier, questions, and if you have them as we're going through, please leverage the tool, and we will monitor that. And we'd love to answer questions real time as opposed to the end. We do have a lot of content to get through, so we'll try to be really efficient with that. And I'm going to pass it on to Veena now. And again, I'm going to run the slides for all three of you today. And feel free to just give me guidance in terms of move forward, move back, and we'll make it a very interactive session. So Veena, I'm going to pass it on to you now and let you share about Imagia, okay?
Sure. Thank you, Brian. Thank you everyone for joining us this morning, and looking forward to sharing with you more about Imagia and also the order to cash trends that we see out there. And a little bit about Imagia. Imagia, we are automation solutions company focused primarily around order to cash transformation. We've been in the business over a decade and deployed our solution to several different shared services organizations as well as global businesses around the world. Our platform has a service to more than $850 billion in receivables, over the decade. And again, I think from a technology and partnerships perspective, we have, some of the marquee, companies taking our solutions and deploying across, the world. Companies like Cognizant and Deloitte and Tech Mahindra and WNS and several others carrying our solution forward. From an integrations partnerships perspective, we have, several companies and predominantly we have integrated our solution to, with the ERP platforms like SAP, Oracle, JD Edwards, PeopleSoft, NetSuite, and many others. Again, we have covered many different industries and, we have been predominantly in manufacturing, pharma, chemical, CPG and other sectors. So with that, Brian, let's go to the next slide. So what we bring to the table in the order to cash is, again, innovations and in a solution that packs all three components of automation, analytics, and AI to bring together efficiency and productivity in the order to cash area. This is what we're going to talk about as to how do we bring this all together and how do we increase the efficiency of the process. Next slide, Brian. So the approach, that typically, I am sure, as global process owners and finance executives, everyone is looking for how do we make this process a scalable process? How do we make this digital? How do we make this touchless, frictionless, right? So one of the key premises that we look at is, every step of the process, what do we do to make this, automated, make this self-driving, make this autonomous. We are in the world of, self-driving cars. We are in the world of, Siris and Alexas. We are in the world of, again, recommendation engines in our everyday life. So that's where, our premise of the entire software is how can order to cash process, drive by itself and, take help from, the staff wherever necessary, but as much as possible, 80 to 85 to 90% has to be automated. So that's the whole premise. So when we get into an implementation, we look at, what is the overall map and how do we drive this sort of efficiency. And let's look at how do we drive this. Next slide, Brian. So, first and foremost, from a technology perspective, when you're evaluating solutions, I think one of the key things, a big trend, that has already happened and shifted is the acceptance of cloud-based order to cash systems. On-premise and enterprise in-house deployments are the thing of the past. Right now, every order to cash transformation, pretty much everyone is looking for, deployment in the cloud. And Imagia solution is an order to cash, global cloud solution. We have integrations with multiple ERP systems, in the back end and as well as, multiple external systems, when it comes to credit, for example, multiple credit bureaus like Dun & Bradstreet to the Experian and multiple others. When it comes to cash application integrations with the bank, all of these are pre-integrated and through what we call as the Imagia data exchange. We bring it all together into one, what we call as a central unified data hub. First and foremost, we bring everything together in one central location where you have data, documents, your third-party data, your internal enterprise data, you have all of that. And on top of that, that's where we deploy, what we call as the Imagia AI engine, which primarily brings together automation, analytics, and AI, which, we'll talk about, how, it comes together. And this is what is the latest trend, with most of the order to cash systems, that are AI driven, bringing together automation, analytics, and AI. So we bring that all together to drive this, 85% to 90% a touchless process. On top of these, that's where we put together these, 6 primary modules, going all the way from credit, collections, deductions, cash applications, EIPP portal, and others, right? So we put that all together and then take it forward. One of the key things of Imagia system is built for global. It's multi-ERP, multilingual, multi-currency, multi-time zone. So it is catered towards, global deployment. So with that, again, with a focus on this foundation and fundamentals, that is coming pre-packaged, that brings an enormous, scalability to deploy this in a worldwide manner. Next slide, right? So now let's talk about, what is automation, what is analytics, and artificial intelligence. I mean, these are the 3 major words, that are, being used pretty much in every context of a digital transformation these days. And let's look at, how can order to cash process leverage these 3. Let's go to the next slide, Brian. So first and foremost on the automation side, right? So, again, there are various levels of automations. I'm sure you have heard about RPA, which is robotic process automation, which, primarily, automates repetitive activities. That's one level of automation. Other level of automation, you may have heard about is, business process, automation, BPA, BPM, in different levels, and we'll talk about a couple of these as to how this is embedded in the in this automation, order to cash automation. Majority of the time that the order to cash folks spend is gathering information from multiple different systems and internal, external systems, and especially for external systems. You take in case of credit, gathering information from government sites, gathering information from some of the third-party providers, or in case of banks, for example, gathering information from banking sites or vendor portals, vendor customer portals. All of these areas are good areas where you can have bots to be able to gather information, process information. And again, Imagia comes with this pre-packaged versions of bringing this all together. Simple example, if you want to do a resale certificate verification, you got to go to every government site to be able to download a resale certificate and do the verification. And all of that is again pre-packaged within Imagia. So again, a good order to cash system need to have data gathering and data aggregation capabilities, and that's where we have invested quite a bit in terms of packaging all of this to benefit this data gathering process and drive major efficiencies around that. Next slide, Brian. Now, I've talked about a little bit about the term, BPA or BPM, business process automation. So this is where once you standardize your, global processes, once you harmonize, these processes, ability to drive these processes in an automated manner is important. However, what brings, life to this, automated processes is analytics. Right. Analytics, today, come in various different forms. This is where, you gather, all amounts of data, from your data, from your documents, from your ERP systems, bring it all together. And in today's world, machine learning, for example, can take patterns, from that particular data and give, analytics in various different forms. It can give predictive analytics, where you can predict a behavior of a customer, for example, or it can give descriptive analytics, simply giving, hey, here is what is happening, with your with your DSO, or here is what is happening, with your past dispute information. So you have descriptive analytics, and then you have prescriptive analytics, something like we use in Google Maps, for example. You want to go from place 1 to place 2, and Google Maps take you exactly, you go right, go left, and go to the same place. So in today's systems, you should be able to have descriptive analytics, prescriptive analytics, predictive analytics. And that's a big portion of Imagia system, where we are able to, again, take volumes of data in and around from all of your different systems, process that, and guide you exactly, here is what your customer payment behavior look like. This is the propensity of dispute on a particular invoice, or this is the cash forecasting day by day or week by week. Here is how it is looking like. So we bring that all together, and this is where it forms a data-driven automation, where the system automatically will be able to figure out, hey, here is a predicted date of payment on a particular customer. This is the kind of information or the letter that we need to send it out, and the system can automatically take that, take it forward. So this is the kind of infrastructure, analytics infrastructure that has become fundamental for today's systems. And again, happy to share with you that there are several different dashboards that can actually give you visual elements, as well as drive the process, taking it forward in an automated manner. Now, one of the big things about the Imagia system, and this is a known, a proven track record, and we've, gotten several awards for, is the how we bring in the, artificial intelligence-based digital assistants. This is the new trend everywhere. And if you look at even on the consumer side, on our everyday life, we are using Siri, we are using Alexa, we are using, a Google Assistant in pretty much on our everyday walk of life. And this is where we have brought in Gia, which is a digital assistant trained for order to cash. We have trained Gia with over 100 plus skills, ability to understand, credit activities, ability to understand collections activities, ability to understand cash application activities, deductions activities. And we have embedded this as part of the system in every walk of it. As an example, when you're sending a letter to the customer, Gia is embedded in the letter to be able to take the conversation forward with the customer to see, is there a problem with this particular invoice? What kind of an issue do you have with this invoice? It can also support collectors, with information. If a collector is looking for quick information as to, hey, what happened to this particular invoice, or what happened with the last payment, where is this applied, or what was the dispute like? So any of that sort of information is basically able to, in a very quick manner, Gia is able to help the collector. Likewise, executives or sales or customer operations can quickly ask Gia any type of information regarding the order to cash, credit, collections, or cash app, or disputes, and Gia is able to deliver that information. We've also deployed Gia in the front lines in the customer care portal, and Gia is able to interact with the customers. So this is a big forward-looking trend. As you deploy, your order to cash systems, this is a major trend that is happening out there. And the more you're able to leverage digital assistants, the more, it brings out scalability. Next. So with that, again, we're bringing all this together, in a packaged manner, so that way you're able to leverage, the power of automation, analytics, and AI all in one manner. Yes, next. Okay, I'll go through very quickly the next few slides. Happy to answer more questions later on, but would like to again give this as a premise and hand this over to ConvaTec team, Chris and Srini, as to how they have deployed this particular solution. First and foremost, a global portfolio is what is enabled, where you're able to see the customer master and the hierarchy, and set up all of the accounts receivable and order to cash reporting at one central location. Next slide, Brian. AI-driven credit. So with this pre-packaged manner, putting in automation, analytics, and AI, we are able to drive, the entire, credit process, in different languages, in different countries, and different areas, and reduce the time of, credit decisions. In most cases, if the credit decision, can be automated, and if it falls within the limits of approvals, then instant credit can be granted in B2B cases. In cases where you need some level of attention, again with all of the automated digital reference checks, automated digital trade reference checks, automated bots to be able to do resale certificates, or process credit holds, credit releases, all of that. In most cases, we are able to bring this down to less than few minutes in many cases. Again, processing thousands of credit orders or sales orders in the process. Again, when we're talking about high efficiency levels, these are the numbers that we are looking at in terms of driving your process levels too. Similarly, on the collection side, every aspect of data-driven and intelligent collections automation, driving letters and correspondence, putting digital assistants right into the front end center with the customer as well as with the workforce, with the collectors. All of that, we are able to put that in place, and the level of efficiency that you are able to get, for collections is, literally driving this, over 85% current AR, in most cases, and this is the kind of efficiency that you will see once you package, all of the automation, analytics, and AI together. Deductions processing. So deductions processing, again, ability to take information from multiple different portals and gather that particular information, process the deductions, using again AI to be able to read documents, AI to be able to extract the pieces of information, drive correspondence with the customer in case you're not having enough information to be able to send a letter to the customer saying, hey, we do not have enough information on this. The other is internally drive workflows to be able to send based on particular dispute reason code. How do you send this to different salespeople, different customer service people, and how do you monitor that and take things forward? So this is all driven out in deductions, and we'll see in ConvaTec case as well how we are driving this down. Cash application, a huge use case for automation, analytics, and AI. You can literally take this 90-95% touchless, straight through posting, auto matching, all of that, taken that. One of the huge breakthroughs over here in cash application is ability to read documents, whether it is your email email body, or the attachments that come in the emails of as remittance advisors or bank statements. Ability to process structured, unstructured data, and all of that apply is a huge use case and a huge saving for global business services, especially when you're dealing with multiple languages, multiple countries, and information coming. AI today can process all of that in a highly scalable, effective, accurate manner. And I think every order to cash executive should leverage these AI driven systems to be able to drive automation. Customer care portal, again, this is where, we have, global payments enabled, global invoicing enabled, as well as, a digital assistant right, front and center, engaging with your customers, assisting them to do the payments. And this is how, again, bringing the power of 3 A's together right in your customer care portal. And finally, of course, you do have reporting and dashboards that you can leverage to your advantage. Next slide, please. So this is where I think we will shift over to ConvaTec. And, again, ConvaTec has done a global deployment of our solution. And, this is where, we have a huge case study for deploying this and achieving world-class world-class performance. So with this, I would like to hand this over to Chris and Srinivas, who have taken this forward from a ConvaTec perspective and deployed this and gained huge efficiencies on the world-class.
Great, thanks, Veena. That was really helpful to take us through that and really understand what the Imagia platform looks like, and of course the AI and the digital assistant is really interesting to better understand how that's being leveraged in the marketplace today. So before I pass it on to Chris and Srini, we want to do another polling question. So Razi, if you could help me bring that up, but we're gonna just get an idea, and it's you can select all that apply. We want to know what customer to cash processes are you currently evaluating technology solutions for. And so you can see we've covered just about all the areas that Veena took us through. Everything from customer master data management all the way through to the performance measurement that she mentioned at the end, and then all the key processes. So just take a moment and let us know what you might be looking at now in terms of technology evaluation.
Great. So the poll is on.
Mm-hmm.
I can see that the audience is quite active, and in the meantime, I've also got a question
Okay.
that will be for Veena probably. But should we take it after the poll, or should we keep it until the end?
Well, why don't you ask the question, and so Veena could think of an answer while we're getting the poll results. How's that sound?
Sure,
Yeah.
great. So Veena, here's the question: does Imagia facilitate Dropbox payments and telecheck payments?
So Imagia does provide various types of payments. Yes, it provides payments through Dropbox payments. Regarding the tele, we currently do not, but certainly we'll be happy to look into that.
Okay, great. Thanks, Veena. Okay. I think we can end the polling now.
Okay.
People have submitted their responses, so let's have a look at the results.
All right. Well, look at that cash application. Gosh, and I know my colleague Siobhan is on. Siobhan and I have been leading the customer to cash advisory program at Hackett for. We've been working together for about 10 years now, maybe longer. Cash application, it's amazing. It's the one that everyone thought we had it figured out years ago, and it's still a big challenge. So it's interesting that one is at the top of the list, 62%. We're looking at that, and then across the board, it's everyone's looking at everything end to end, but really Cash App is the one that if we can really get that figured out, it actually drives a lot of improvements across the end-to-end process. So it's interesting. That's a good one to know that everyone's looking at that. All right, so with that, I'm going to pass it on to Chris and Srini and let them share the story about ConvaTec and how they're leveraging technology to improve their process, and as well as share who ConvaTec is. So Chris, Srini, I'm so glad that you're both with us. I'm going to pass it on to you, and again, just give me guidance in terms of when to move the slides. Okay.
Okay. So I'm Chris Arnold from ConvaTec, and I'm a VP in the IT department. I report into our CIO, and one of my areas of responsibility is our customer support or our back office systems. Also responsible for providing technical and system support for our current financial transformation that's going on at the company. So to introduce ConvaTec, we are a medical device manufacturer, been in existence for 40 some years. And we make 4 different categories of medical devices. All of these are what we call single-use disposable devices. So, you know, it's not like a device like an X-ray machine. It's something you typically apply to your patient, and then once it's used, it's thrown away and replaced with a new one. So we have one area which is advanced wound care. These are wound care products that will enhance the care of a chronic wound, something that a gauze bandage would not really suffice. These bandages are designed to promote the healing of the wound and typically do not need a change for multiple days. And we also have an ostomy care. These are, you know, colostomy bags, urostomy bags, which is one of the original products of our company. We have a continence care line, which is largely catheters. And then at last, we have what's called infusion care, which are needle sets that are used to infuse drugs. And typically it's used with diabetic pumps, insulin pumps. So actually we don't make the pump, we make the attached tube and needle that will connect to your body. So it says, you know, our vision here is, you know, pioneering trusted medical solutions and improving the lives of the folks that use them. And our values are listed. You know, very important part of our company, our values and how we treat our customers and patients. Looking at the size of our company, we are a $2 billion almost company. We have locations in, you know, legal companies in about 50 markets, and we distribute to over 100. And, you know, are very much an international business. So in terms of a global model, that's definitely us. We have business all over the place. So we have undergoing a financial transformation. This is a project we started a couple of years ago. Our operating model for finance was very disjointed. We had some processes outsourced globally, some insourced regionally, some still being done locally. Really a mismatch. We had very little system and automation. Most of this financial processes, except for our SAP system, were largely done manually. And in relation to order to cash, you know, I think we had a couple small systems in certain areas, but they were not global in nature. So the idea was we want to transform this whole area to simplify it, to centralize it, to standardize it, and to automate it. And so we are in the middle of that process. We have opened a global delivery center for finance in Lisbon, Portugal. We've been hiring folks there and transforming and moving, you know, that centralization process. At the same time, we have been deploying multiple systems. In the case of order to cash, on the finance side, we have deployed Imagia. We did a pilot back in, I don't know, maybe I think it was July-ish, and we've still in the process of implementing it, but we have a large portion of the company done, North America, most of Europe, and some of our Asia Pac companies. We plan to continue to deploy it over the next 4 or 5 months to have it pretty much deployed in most of our global companies. Order to cash transformation goals. I think I'll turn this over to Srini, who's our business process lead for order to cash. Srini, you want to start really going into the order to cash side?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm Srini. I'm the process owner for order to cash at ConvaTec. So basically, our main transformation goals were to actually set up a GBS operations at Lisbon, and train them. Brand new office, starting from zero. And also we had IBM, BPO basically, and who were managing our collections and cash applications process. So we wanted to bring them in-house into GPS. And also we needed the transformation to basically be to increase the performance. As Chris mentioned, we have SAP, and things are pretty much manual in nature, and very little automation was done in SAP. And also we wanted it to be a scalable product and to be rolled out easy to use and cloud based basically. And as you can see here, cash application was our top requirement, along with collections, dispute resolution, and also the cost of AR operations to be reduced by 40%. So these were our main goals while deciding on the transformation goals. Next slide, please, Brian. So when we saw Imagia, and we did a pilot in June last year. We implemented initially in a few countries, and then we saw that Imagia was able to provide the level of automation and the level of the AI-based tools that Imagia had in order to achieve our goals. So it provided like one platform to actually manage the complete AR solutions. And we used our receivables, collections, deductions, cash applications. Pretty much this was planned for us to integrate into SAP and use this, use Imagia. Next slide, please. So our plan was initially, the pilot phase was the phase one with countries, Italy, Spain, and Portugal. In phase two, we had a lot more countries, various languages, Czech, Polish, German, Dutch. And then our phase three was US and Canada. And then phase four is LATAM, which is currently in progress. And then the future phase, like Chris mentioned, is for Asia Pacific. So overall, a 15-month journey in the 5 phases. Currently, we are in phase 4. So basically, the primary phases were basically gathering requirements as to what the local markets need. Each country has different requirements. There are some legal aspects which we need to consider. And the language requirements, currencies, tax requirements, reporting requirements. So all the requirements gathering, then build and test phase, in this case, design, build and test phase, where a design is agreed, built, and then unit tested basically, and then also tested by an acceptance testing, user acceptance testing. Then there is a deployment, where is a go live and cutover, where data is migrated, transactions are migrated. And then, of course, we have a hypercare support, which goes for 3 to 4 weeks, depending on the market size, to support the business on any kind of issues, either it is data issue or any bugs, basically. Now, COVID as a pandemic hit us when we were in the prime of the implementation. And I don't know, Chris, if you want to add and chip in here. There was a big risk here, and we did have a lot of assessment. Should we actually stop the program or should we continue? Because the teams were all distributed across the world. Markets are distributed, implementation teams are distributed. And obviously, all the teams are working remotely from home. ConvaTec IT teams were working from home. Imagia implementation team is spread across in the US, in India. And IBM teams were also spread out. So I don't know, Chris, maybe you can help me out here with this decision making over COVID.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we had two major risks, I think, identified. One was essentially we were re-engineering our organizational structure at the same time we're implementing systems. So ultimately, the folks that we started with, who helped us decide, select the solution and start to build the solution out, were not the same people who were going to use the solution. They hadn't been hired yet. So there was some risk. We made the decision that we could manage that risk, which actually has been a bit of a challenge, but we have done it. Second was an unforeseen risk with COVID. And after discussion and evaluation, it was decided we would continue to build our delivery center in Lisbon and deliver these solutions. I think that the capabilities of the remote solutions today have been excellent in this. And because we're an international or global company, we are already used to dealing with folks not all in the same place, so we were kind of already a company that was familiar with working on a global basis without having to travel as much, because traveling is an expensive way to communicate. So ultimately it worked out. We have opened the center. We have, I don't know, 100 plus folks in the center operating today. We have the systems up and running, and most of the folks in Lisbon have not actually physically met face to face yet. There has been challenges with that, but honestly, it really was well managed. So we were very good at identifying risk and eliminate those risks with mitigations. So, on top of a large transformation, we've actually successfully continued through a global pandemic, and we are relatively on course to where we were planning to be.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, now coming to the global AR process transformation journey. So the main portfolios, as you know, the AR process is mainly cash applications, collections, and dispute management. These were our three main areas with Imagia. Cash applications, obviously, percentage of cash automatically matched, handling payers and payees, and of course, identifying various parent-child scenarios. Collections management, looking to standardize collections strategies by customer classification, I would say, or customer grouping, the types of customers along with the risk categories associated with them, driving higher automations in terms of sending reminder letters, dunning letters, probably also capture promise to pays from customers, which enables cash forecasting. And also most important for collections is multi-language support, because the dunning letters and the statements would go in the languages certain countries would only use the local language. Dispute management, quite interesting. Cycle time for dispute resolution was one of the key concerns. And also there was some, when we started, there were some control issues as well, and risks. And also the analysis of the root cause of the dispute was quite distributed across various teams. So coordinating with those teams on a single platform, that was a challenge, because these were, traditionally done on emails and phone calls. And then, of course, automated credit and debit matching was also another part. So these were the key requirements in these portfolios, and Imagia provided the right mix of technological elements which helped us to achieve these to a great extent. Next. So ConvaTec GBS Global AR portfolio, the global AR views. So mainly it's integrating Imagia with customer master data. So all the SAP information of the customers, we have integrated successfully into Imagia. And secondly, we are able to consolidate the AR statements for customers. We have the invoices and also the disputes and payments information for all the customers available in via integration with our SAP, which is our main ERP for transactions and master data. Then, so the integration of master data and the AR with SAP, that was a big achievement in this implementation, although it took us some time, but we figured out and the integration worked quite well. One is master data interface to SAP, and also all the OpenAR interface into SAP on a daily basis. This enables basically the customer master into SAP on a daily basis. So any changes that happen come into SAP, which actually drive all the collection and cash application activities. Now, I'm going to take you through the order to cash, the three portfolios, which I said: cash applications, collections, and disputes management. So I'm going to show you the before state and basically the after state after implementing Imagia, and then you can clearly see what the differences are. So as mentioned earlier, highly manual process in SAP, and low level of accuracy in cash application process. I wouldn't, so basically everything was manual in terms of it's dependent on people, which would probably lead to delays in applying cash. And also there was low penetration and remittance advice in multiple languages actually, which is what made it like people dependent. And as you can see, the automation which we had before was at this stage in various markets, which was not great, I would say, at the start. Next slide, please. So we implemented Imagia, where we have used AI-driven technology, which Veena had mentioned, and the system learns itself. And also we were able to actually implement debit card, credit card, ACH, wire, checks, and other payments. And also we had remittances via emails and PDFs, and also bank statements. We did the BA12, MT940, and others. And also Imagia can read 15 languages. And basically the OpenAR invoices from SAP, the bank statements, and the remittance, all the three combined would result in auto match results. So either we would have a match status where the matching is straightforward. You have an invoice, you have a payment, and it is matched, or it is unmatched where the customer could be identified, but the invoices couldn't be identified. And the third is unidentified, where even the customer is not identified. Okay, so these are three match statuses that we would have. And when the cash application representatives log into Imagia, they would clearly have dashboards to see these three things and actually go straight into unmatched and start working on them. And there are lots of tools, and also there is an AI assisted tool with Gia, which helps the cash app rep and the customer to actually work together to get the matching done. And also, as I told you, the system learns automatically and also applies the matching results. So the cash application after state, as you can see in the graph here, the auto match percentage obviously significantly increased in the last few months. And as you know, it's a continuous process. When we started implementing, it was at 30%. And then with various learning tools and with the various rules which we have implemented, and people getting used to the system, the match percentage is the auto match percentage has gone up, and it is still a continuous drive to actually improve the percentage. So thank you. So the next is the collections. So basically in collections, the major challenge was there was no global visibility of the receivables portfolio. There was no proper invoice distribution capabilities. No proper collections forecasting was available. A highly disconnected collections process between the IBM, BPO and ConvaTec collection teams and sales teams. AR Collect was a tool that was deployed in all medium and large scale countries. There was no account prioritization and clear escalation metrics. And also there was no automatic dunning and notices to the customers and customer statements. So everything was manual. Considering the large number of customers in some of the markets, everything was basically quite manual and quite tedious. And I would say that there was not a lot of coverage in terms of collection before we started implementing. As you can see, the on-time payment from customers in some of the markets in 2019 were approximately 60-65%, as you can see. Now, what we achieved after implementing Imagia, we have a full visibility of global receivables portfolio. Once you log into Imagia, you have a complete visibility of any customer in any country, what the customer owes us and how long it has aged. As a result of implementing about 60 complex collection strategies, there is a clear prioritization for the collection tasks for collectors. So basically, these strategies were based on the risk category of the customer, the aging of the invoices, the open AR, and also customer grouping, types of customers. So based on these criteria, we were able to define some collection strategies for various countries where collections could be automated. And the strategies actually drive sending of the dunning letters, sending of the statements to the customers, which has actually achieved a lot of FTE benefits because sending statements is a very tedious task if done manually, and also sending dunning letters where customers are overdue. And automatic dunning notices have been implemented. Automatic statements have been implemented where the system sends statements on a particular working day of the month. Different countries have different requirements. They have been catered for different languages. And total FTE for collections was reduced from 25 to 14 due to the automations achieved, like I mentioned. Collection efficiency has increased by 25%. Like you can see, as I showed you in the previous slide, in 2019, the on-time payment by customers was this. And in 2020, after implementing Imagia, a significant increase in the collections. I would say it's purely because of more coverage and more customers seeing the statements, getting dunning letters. As a result, we are getting more on-time payment from the customers. Disputes management. So disputes, as I said, there was no visibility at a global level on what the disputes situation is. There was no visibility of receivables portfolio also, and then the reason I cover receivables here is because collectors didn't have visibility of the invoices which were under dispute. So the customers which we had disputes with, and that would waste a lot of time, collectors trying to chase customers where invoices were on disputes. There was not a single place to record the disputes. Disputes were being managed in a software called ZenShare, and ZenShare we had limited licenses. ZenShare was good to record the disputes, but the workflow was quite basic, and there was no automation in terms of integration with SAP, where a dispute would automatically convert into a credit or a debit. Long turnarounds for dispute resolution, hence delay in collections, because as I said, the dispute resolution was based on analyzing what the dispute is actually about, and various teams like the pricing team, the sales team, the warehouse, the 3PL partners, the logistics partners. So everybody were involved, and along with collections. So connecting with all these people and then finally getting a dispute through into a credit would take a long time because not one single platform. Again, I already mentioned collection teams didn't have visibility of disputes, and there was no single place for auditing how a dispute started, what are all the investigations that were done, which are the people who were involved in approving the dispute and finally, into the reports. So there was no single stop shop for auditing disputes. After implementing Imagia, we have visibility of receivables. Imagia is one-stop shop record for disputes. All the disputes are recorded in Imagia. In Imagia, it's now seamlessly, possible to actually interact with all the teams within Imagia. They can put in their comments. All the comments are dated and ready for auditing. And you can see a complete audit history of approvals and comments and attachments. And it's a one place where the entire journey of the dispute from its beginning to the end, whether it's rejected or whether it's approved, and then it turns into a credit. Another achievement is Imagia is integrated into SAP, where if a dispute is approved, it goes and directly creates a credit in SAP. I would like to share something which I've not put on this slide, but in ConvaTec, we class disputes mainly into two categories: a price dispute and a returns dispute, where a price dispute is where the customer is challenging on the price, where a special agreed price with the customer is not shown on the invoice. And the second type is basically a returns, where either it's a short delivery, or whether it's a defective element, or whether something has been damaged in transit. So where the customer would expect a return and a credit. And sometimes if it's a price dispute, it's only a credit. So both those types of disputes, we were able to integrate into SAP, where a return is created in SAP as a result of approval of dispute in Imagia, or a credit is created in SAP as a result of the approval. So this was again a big achievement, because from a controls, risk and compliance perspective, this was a big achievement in controls, because whatever is approved in Imagia, touchlessly it goes and creates the credit in SAP for the same amount. So you're not handling anything manually here. So that was one good thing. And collaboration with various teams now in Imagia. So yeah. Next, as Veena explained, reporting dashboards are available in Imagia. We also have Power BI, where we are building dashboards. It's in process, but we do have Power BI for reporting, and Imagia also provides lots of reports for. Now, this is ConvaTec order to cash performance. This is from the so here, if you can see, as a result of, obviously the transformation which ConvaTec is going through in 2020, strategic AR contributions, you can see the balance sheet strengthening, decreasing DSO, increase in cash on hand. This has been proved in various reports, and also cost reduction in operations, controls, and compliance in operations, basically. Next.
All right. Well, I know we're at the top of the hour. Srini and Chris, that was really interesting to learn how you've leveraged Imagia and the results that you've received. So I know we're at the top of the hour. Rosie, were there any questions that came in that we can take real quick?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions only.
Okay.
So approximately, this is at ConvaTec, approximately what is the volume of transactions, customer payments received on a monthly basis?
So customer payments received, I would say, is about 100,000 a month.
Okay. Okay. And then a second question, how many bank accounts have you got?
What, around 18 bank accounts?
More than 18. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, good questions, because complexity is always a factor.
Of course.
You know, and can the system handle the complexity of a business? Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
I think on one of the things I would absolutely like to add is the way the ConvaTec team, right through the pandemic, managed 4 different phases and global implementation, over 50 different countries, again, with totally new teams operationally and totally new IT teams. So that was a fantastic execution from the ConvaTec team, the way they've carried this out. So Chris and Srini, I'm sure can share a lot more information on the project execution, just the way they've handled the overall execution process of this order to cash transformation.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was really informative. So I want to thank all three of our speakers, Veena, Chris, and Srini today. Really appreciate it. If we do have any follow-up questions, we'll certainly reach out to you. But I want to thank everyone for participating today. I know when you do close out on the Zoom, there'll be still one more short survey. Please complete that. And, of course, we're always looking for great stories. So, all of the members of Hackett Advisory, if you want to share your story, please let us know about that. But I want to thank everybody for joining today. Please have a great Monday and a great rest of your week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you,
Thanks,
Brian.
Bye.
everyone. Bye. Bye.
Bye. Thank you all.